everyone, it's me, Filler Pose, and I'm back with another video. This one's a bit special though, because it's a celebration for 100 subscribers! Thank you so much for all the love and attention. I greatly appreciate it. I'm surprised with how quickly I've gotten these subscribers. I've only been on YouTube for about 5 months. I've been on Instagram since 2024, and I've only gotten 150 followers there. Not that I'm ungrateful for you guys on Instagram. Maybe on the smaller side, but you're the real ones. I appreciate you. Alright, for this video, I'm going to be doing a process of making art video. Specifically designing a fashionable vampire guy. This isn't going to be the most rendered, final piece type concept. It's very loose. But throughout it, I'll be giving you tips and tricks as they come up. So when I go through designing a character, there are stages. Sometimes I stop at one stage, I'll go all the way if I'm really interested in solidly designing a character, but stages nonetheless. The steps are as listed. First, the idea. With this comes research. Research varies in depth. It can go from pictures, vibes, to a 30-minute in-depth dive on clothes, depending on my hyperfixation. Generally, I'll pull up pictures of the general vibe I'm aiming to achieve. In this case, it's pictures of coats and fashionable men. I also did research into different types of coats, where these coats came from, the differences between single and double-breasted, etc. Here's the page I did while I was looking that up. Don't mind all the red lines. My computer has this problem where it double types letters, and I've given up trying to fix it right now. After I get the idea and pictures off to the side, which involves like 10 tabs being opened at the same time, I move forward onto the next step. Opening the drawing app. Thank you. There are two things I want you to know I do with Pages and Ink Color. Number 1, change your background to something other than pure white. Have it closer to mid-tone gray. Ideally, I have it a little less than that though. This makes it so, 1, you're not flashbanged every time you open your application, and it also makes it easier to see value relationships, and I've heard makes it more, you read the values more accurately, which I think is true. So, set that to a darker background. You can make it a permanent setup by going to your drawing application's canvas page, so when you pull up a new tab and you have all those width and height settings. Off to the right, you'll see a canvas color and paper settings. I don't touch the paper settings, I'm happy with what I have, but change the color setting through this. After, click OK, and it should have that on the default page all the time. Also, if you work with multiple page types, for example, I have different widths and heights for my YouTube recordings, my comic pages, and my general pages. If you don't want to manually change the width height proportions every time, what you do is after you're done with your page setup, click the plus button next to the page preset, name it what you want, and click the main box right next to it to pick it out later. For my general pages, which is what I'm using today, I like 1920 by 1230 landscape mode. After that, I keep my resolution at 300 dpi. This is because I'd like just a larger page, wider, to work on, so I have more to fit in one page. Alright, so that's the more technical stuff out of the way. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the color of the ink or pencil you sketch or ink with. I never liked solid black. There was something about it that was like too strong. It was too heavy. There wasn't really wiggle room for me as well in terms of color. Like it looked like the void. So if you lighten it a bit, instead of having it all the way down to the edge of this triangle, other the color itself, you get a grayer color. Already this is lighter. It's easier on your eyes. It's less like in your face. But grayer in of itself is a bit boring too. Now I just needed to switch the color to something, and it will be dark enough to be registered as black, but still have a little something to it, a little color. I prefer colder colors with something like this, so I make it purplish. I don't like warmer colors in this case, so I avoid red specifically, because when red goes grayer, it tends to look a bit green or brown, and I do not like that. I realize looking at this, you might not be able to tell the difference, but trust me, there is. Alright, so now that the page and inking color is aside, we can talk about the first drawing you do. Warm-ups. I just do squiggles on a page. Most of the time they're curves, some straights, and S-lines. These are called CSI lines. C lines are curves. They can be subtle or exaggerated, but curves nonetheless. You can use these when something has weight on it, to have contrast on the opposite side of a straight, etc. S lines are rhythms. They have flow, grace. They tend to move your eyes down or across something a bit slowly, I think. I lines are straights. They're structural, strong, and fast. Depending on the angle of it, you can show something in perspective. You can speed something up or slow it down. Also, while doing your warm-ups, use your whole arm. This is a big deal. If you use your wrist, the lines will be short and scratchy, along with hurting it over time. If you use your elbow, this is fine. You get longer lines than your wrist. But if you use your shoulder, you get big, arching, smooth overall lines. Don't get me wrong, it's hard as heck to control when you're starting off, and it's really not encouraging, but this is what this exercise is for. Over time, you will get better at it. So, if you want large lines, shoulder. Medium length lines, elbow. Tiny lines for tiny ideas, your wrist. But generally, you want to use your whole arm for the majority of the time because it's easier on your muscles, and you really don't want to be using your wrist 24/7. After that, I'll throw down like force blobs. If you follow Force Friday with Mike Mutesi, you'll know what I'm talking about. These are curves with some point of it being the strongest and pointing in a direction. The strongest point of this arc is called the apex. I'll throw wrapping lines around them, sometimes to get depth, but after that, I'm ready to draw. All I'm doing is like getting my brain and hand kind of in sync. I draw the loose gesture of a human figure, and since I'm just testing out code ideas, I duplicate these and put them next to each other. It's important to have your different stages of iteration next to each other so you can compare. I like the idea of a fur neck collar or some collar with some sort of substance, but the first coat I didn't like the length, so I went longer ones. Alright, now I'm off to my main pose. Quick tip, when drawing the torso, don't have them straight lined up with each other like this. This is a mistake many beginners make. The ribcage and pelvis bounce off each other, so the ribcage leans backward and the pelvis leans forward in an upright position. This can change depending on posture and pose, but we're talking about upright for now. I also added longer legs for a slimmer silhouette. At this point, I was having some difficulty with the clothes, and I haven't studied jackets and things like that in a while, so I wasn't too pleased with the sketch. After that, I decided to move on to an S rhythm type of pose. The other one was like strong and kind of a big boss vibe. This one is more relaxed, and that was kind of what I was envisioning the first time. At this sketch, I was a bit happier with the pose and the clothes. But I wasn't set on his face and hairstyle, so I did some more off to the side. And eventually settled on this one. Again, wasn't completely set like 100% on it, but it was close enough to what I wanted. It was the best out of these four. After we get our pose and things sketched out, it's time to refine it. At this point, I'll lower the opacity of the sketch layer, drop a new one under it as the new layer of sketching. When it comes to this stage, I don't worry about clean lines. I like it clean in a way, but most of the time I'll hit the same spot like twice to build it up. Interesting thing with these lines, if you have two lines right next to each other, they have the thickness of like one big line, right? But the middle of it is empty. So it's kind of airy and it gives like this, I don't know. I feel like I've heard the whole making the lines airy before, but I can't quite remember where. I also taper the end so it flows seamlessly into the next one. If you just have the line stop abruptly and then abruptly start another one, it can be jarring. After I'm happy with a refined sketch, I'll go into color. I delete the rough sketch layer and set another layer under my new sketch as the color one. When it comes to colors, try not to oversaturate them. Keep them about the middle of the color wheel. Saturation is attention. The more there is in one spot, the more you'll want to look there. If there's saturation everywhere, your eyes have nowhere to settle. Generally, you'll have most of the image being like mid to even gray saturation, and then you add saturation to a spot where you want people to look first, which is the focal point. Marco Bucci has some great videos on this. After I get the flat colors down, I'll add shadows. I recommend not just taking the color and darkening it. This can work sometimes, so take it on a case-by-case basis, but generally, this tends to make it look muddy and gray. Generally, shadows take the color of the environment, right? That's why shadows outside look blue on a sunny day, or how blue can get into the shadow of pink pants if light is bouncing off the blue object into the shadow. Also, I believe the Lighting Mentor on YouTube, he has videos about shadows as well, so he's also another really good color teacher. But he also notices that when something turns darker, it tends to go up in saturation a bit as well, and other artists have noticed this as well. In this case, for this character, however, I'm not picking his environment, so I'm just going to darken it for now. He's just essentially in a white void. After the shadows get put in, we get into edges. Edges vary from hard to soft. These follow two types of shadows: cast shadows and form shadows. Form shadows is when light wraps around an object. This tends to be a soft transition on something like a cone, something rounder, while a hard transition is on something like a box. This is because of planes. Planes are like when you take a piece of paper and you bend it in three parts, and you see how there's three squares after you fold them. They're bent in different directions, so the light, if it's shining from above, it's going to hit the middle square first, and then the other two squares are going to be turned away from the light more, so it's darker. If it's turned away enough, it's in complete shadow. The ones that turn slightly, but are not completely in shadow, are halftones. Halftones turn the form softly, leading to this soft edge on rounder objects. Cast shadows are when something is blocking the light from hitting a part of another object. The closer it is, the harder and sharper these edges are, so these tend to be hard edges. I want to color this head here, so I'm going to bring up another art tip. Subsurface scattering. If you draw a head and shade it with a darker shadow, you might find that it's looking a bit lifeless, kind of like a statue. There are three types of surfaces: opaque, transparent, and translucent. When light hits an opaque or solid surface, it bounces right off. If light hits a translucent surface, which means it's slightly see-through, some light bounces off, but the rest scatters around inside and then picks up the color in there and bounces it around. Skin is translucent. When light hits it, the other light can reach parts of the skin that has blood vessels, causing you to see that red when you hold a flashlight on the other side of your palm. Generally, you'll see this tinge of red on right before it goes into shadow, so in the darkest halftone, and you'll sometimes see it through parts of the body that have less skin there, so it just goes through it really easily, and then it picks up the blood vessels and shines to the other side, like the ear. Like I said, this was a loose, very loose sort of character design, but I hope you enjoyed and found the tips helpful nonetheless. Thank you so much for all the subscribers. I appreciate you guys, and I'm glad that my videos are helping. Until next time, and I hope you have a great day.